In May 1924, a British trade agent in Tibet encountered a haggard, dirt-stained traveler in native wool. The woman addressed him in fluent, aristocratic English. This was Alexandra David-Néel. At 55 years old, she had successfully infiltrated Lhasa, the forbidden capital, standing in the shadow of the massive Potala Palace. The map reveals the vast expanse between China, India, and the isolated Tibetan plateau. David-Néel and her son Yongden crossed thousands of miles of uncharted territory on foot, traveling during winter to evade the British border patrols. Surviving this journey turned David-Néel into a global icon, etching her name in history as the first Western woman to reach the Forbidden City. Following her return, David-Néel spent decades cultivating a public image as a rational mystic, a serene Buddhist sage, existing entirely above earthly passions. After she died at age 100, her estate in southern France revealed a different reality. Investigators discovered crates of hidden files, suppressed writings, and letters intentionally consigned to the flames. This raises a question regarding why a woman who had ostensibly mastered her own mind would spend her final years attempting to scrub her own records. David-Néel spent her final years burning documents to ensure the public only ever saw the enlightened explorer, effectively burying the chaotic past lives that had fueled her journey. Her records trace back to 1871 and the fall of the Paris Commune. As a toddler, she was carried through the streets by her father and saw the aftermath of a mass execution. The memory of those corpses fostered a radical streak and a persistent hostility toward the society that had ordered the killings. In her 20s, she lived as a political extremist in Paris and Brussels, carrying a loaded pistol and writing in her diary about using it on herself to escape the confines of her world. She adopted the philosophy of Max Stirner, who celebrated the ego and encouraged breaking the law to weaken the state. For David-Néel, the individual will was the only truth. The future mystic viewed society as a prison, and her entire life became an exercise in escape. She looked for that escape in the theater. After her death, a trunk of elaborate theatrical costumes surfaced, documenting a sensualist phase she later worked to omit from her biography. Using the stage name Alexandra David-Néel, she spent years as a touring opera singer in colonial outposts like Indochina and North Africa, desperate for a path to independence. At 36, she entered a tactical marriage with a colonial bureaucrat, Philip Néel. It was a union born from financial necessity. She emotionally detached from Philip after discovering his records of local prostitutes, yet she continued to use his salary to finance her years of travel. David-Néel utilized her marriage as a funding mechanism, securing the resources required to live entirely on her own terms. The specific abilities required to conquer Tibet were forged during these hidden years of radicalism and performance. When British officials banned her from the interior, she applied her anarchist mindset to the problem, successfully outmaneuvering their border guards and intelligence officers. Her theatrical background allowed her to spend months disguising herself as a beggar, using cocoa and charcoal to obscure her features from every authority. She endured the treacherous trails and freezing temperatures of the high plateau with a resilience rooted in her psychological need to stay beyond the reach of conventional life. Lhasa was reached by a calculating, fiercely ambitious egoist masquerading as a beggar. Upon her return to Europe, she used her status to author 30 books, effectively introducing the concepts of Tibetan Buddhism to a Western audience. Her writings directly impacted the 20th century counterculture. Jack Kerouac and the Beat Generation drew their understanding of Eastern mysticism from her first-hand accounts. Her influence extended to Allen Ginsberg and helped establish the cultural archetype of the hidden Himalayan utopia known as Shangri-La. Her impossible journey had a grounding motivation beyond spiritual enlightenment. When asked why she did it, she simply stated she wanted to show that a woman could do it. Alexandra David-Néel remains a brilliantly flawed figure of history, a woman who rewrote her past to secure the absolute freedom she demanded.